Reeses is named after its inventor H.B. Reese, Harry Burnett. In 1928, he initially produced his delicious cups. Before he came up with the idea of creating sweets, he was compelled to perform a series of jobs in order to support his 16 children. Harry's path to success was anything from straight, and he encountered various challenges along the way. This is his narrative. Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. Today, we'll be looking at the rise and fall of Reese's candy. Yeah, you heard it right. So, let's start our video. In 1879, Harry Burnett was born. He was of English origin and raised on a Pennsylvania farm. Harry was an only child and he desired to assist his parents as much as possible. And when it came to generating money, he was resourceful. As a young lad, he began by cultivating the soil. However, he soon began to develop other lucrative sources of revenue. He began milking cows since it was a quicker method to earn money. In addition, he constructed a pond in which he reared and sold frogs to surrounding eateries. Harry married in 1900 after a childhood filled with various entrepreneurial endeavors. At the time, he was only 21 years old, and it wasn't long before that their small family began to grow and grow and grow. The couple had a total of 16 children, 8 daughters and 8 sons. The fact that Harry's wife came from a wealthy family assisted him in providing for his rapidly expanding family. However, Harry has always been a family man. Not only did his mother spend the remainder of her life with him, but so did her 2 sisters. As you can expect, the house was usually full, and during a normal Reese family dinner, at least one member would be there, and if friends and family were invited, the number increased to more than 40. As intimate as this may have been, it also necessitated additional funding. Harry was obliged to take on a variety of odd jobs in order to support his increasing family, including managing the fishing operations of his father in canning law's business, supervising a dairy farm, and working in a factory. Harry would do anything to support his family. However, this wasn't sufficient and the family continued to struggle. Then, in 1916, Harry read in the papers that Milton S. Hershey was seeking individuals to manage his several dairy farms in the Hershey, Pennsylvania region. Milton was, as you may have guessed, the founder of the renowned Hershey chocolate family, and while Harry was unaware at the time, accepting this position would forever alter his life. After a year of employment with Hershey, Harry was asked to run a dairy farm called the Round Barn, which was an experimental farm that Milton Hershey visited every 2 weeks to monitor operations. The farm utilized innovative milking machines which were significantly more efficient than milking by hand. However, these devices were costly, and by 1919, Milton chose to close the farm. It is uncertain whether Harry departed his work voluntarily or was terminated. However, we do know that he chose to take a different strategy this time, and instead of relying on others for employment, he started his own firm. He named it the R&R Candy Company and marketed milk chocolate covered almonds and raisins to local retailers. Harry understood that his company required high quality manufacturing and equipment to maximize its potential. 1 year later, he changed the company's name to Superior Chocolate and Confectionery Company and began selling stock to raise capital. Surprisingly, he raised the equivalent of $290,000 today. Not terrible, but the business ultimately failed and 40-year-old Harry, under pressure to support his many children and expecting yet another kid, fell bleak. Harry accepted a position at a paper mill after his early sweets business failed. He subsequently began a second career as a butcher and a third job as a vegetable preserver. He was so busy that busy would be an understatement. In 1921, however, his wealthy father-in-law had good news. He had bought a house for Harry's expanding family. Harry quit his 3 jobs and returned to Hershey when circumstances finally began to improve and the family was able to acquire a roof over their heads. He began in the shipping department before quickly being promoted to foreman. Nonetheless, money was still tight, so he decided to take on a second job. Despite the failure of his previous chocolate endeavor, he decided to give it another shot and began producing a variety of sweets in his basement. He produced hard candy, chocolate-covered nuts and raisins, mints, and 2 of his own popular candy bars. All of his confections were covered in Hershey's chocolate, and he always made sure to use fresh ingredients. A few years later, Harry's business was performing far better than anticipated. Although he was still operating out of his basement, the demand for his candies continued to rise. Harry decided to take the business more seriously as a result of this success, and he founded the H.B. Reese Candy Company. His business was successful for many years, but it lacked a blockbuster product, and revenues were modest. One day in 1928, though, everything changed. 5 years after establishing his business, Harry made a sales trip to Harrisburg. There, he spoke with a store owner who told him that he struggled to maintain chocolate-covered peanut butter, candies, and inventory. The owner's supplier was unable to keep up with demand, and the sweets were flying off the shelves before he could replenish them. To continue satisfying his customers' needs, the man requested Harry for assistance. Perhaps he could create something similar that would not require him to think twice. And without hesitation, he agreed, leaving the store to purchase an enormous 50-pound can of peanut butter. he hurried home and immediately began experimenting by coating a peanut butter ball with chocolate. The recipe proved difficult to execute, and mass production of the balls would have been practically impossible. After considerable consideration, Harry came up with a superior plan. What if he used regular cups rather than balls? By that point, the chocolate-covered peanut butter cups had only been available for some time. They were first offered commercially in 1907. However, they had never achieved widespread popularity. Prior to that time, they were merely one of the several candies sold in pharmacies. All of this was about to change though. Harry began producing his own peanut butter so that he could produce the best cups in town. In addition, he roasted the peanuts until they were nearly charred, which contributed to the deliciousness of his cups. Here, he simply referred to his cups as peanut butter cups or penny cups, as each was sold for a penny. They were an instant success and individuals adored the salty sweet goodies. Harry began selling 5-pound cartons to local merchants not long after, and by 1935, the company was doing so well that he had paid off all his debts and left his Hershey Company factory position. Harry felt confident enough to strike out on his own to create candy for a living, and he was finally able to focus solely on his own business. For a number of years, the company ran without incident, but then World War II occurred, bringing severe shortages of goods and economic misery. Sugar was rationed when the United States entered the war, and although his former boss Milton Hershey offered Harry sugar, it wasn't sufficient. In a desperate effort to rescue his business, Harry focused entirely on the peanut butter cup and discontinued his other items. In light of the fact that it was his most popular product and required the least quantity of sugar, he made the wisest decision of his life. And that's all for today's video. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments section down below. I hope that you found this video interesting, and if you want to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing to my channel. See you in the following video with some more of the latest updates, and until then, stay tuned.